Open your microphone, please, Alma.
Sorry. Përshëndetje.
Hello.
Në emër të Fondacionit
On behalf of the European Training Foundation, the European Joint Research Center, and the Vocational Training Education in Albania, allow me to welcome you in this online informational meeting on the platform SELFIE for Teachers in Albania. Let me remind you that, can you hear me? Yes, yes. There is a participant with his mic on. Which one is the first one? Okay, can you mute yourself, please? Alma is saying. So please, if you could mute your mic. Can you hear me? So first, let me remind you some technical details. So welcome, Alda. Thank you all for your participation. So when you take the floor, you can start the mic, or there is also a button in the bottom to raise your hand. And also now for the selection of the language. In the menu below, as you can see, there is interpretation in Zoom. The idea and interpretation is very important to have.
Ky takim do të paraqes gjetjet kryesore të studimit që është ndërmarrë në Shqipëri, duke filluar nga janari i këtij viti dhe është në fund, pra që është përpiluar raporti në shtator të këtij viti. Mirë se erdhët, Manjola.
So this study was made using the self-reflection platform SELFIE for Teachers. We have invited a multitude of stakeholders at this meeting today who are important stakeholders of vocational education and training. But most importantly, we have the managers of VET, vocational schools, and teachers who were involved at this study. The main purpose of this meeting is to present these main findings of the study and to discuss on further steps on both the EU perspective and our perspective at domestic level, Albania. Briefly, the agenda today is we are going to have, after my opening remarks, we are going to have welcoming remarks from the EU delegation in Albania and from the contact point of ETF in Albania. Then we will have opening remarks from the channel from Ms. Service-Gisti from the agency. And then we will have an overall presentation of the study and the platform SELFIE for Teachers in Albania by Mr. Alessandro Bromtop. Then we will have a presentation of the main findings of the study, and I believe this is quite an important part for all of us to be presented by Ms. Anastasia Economi, who leads the project SELFIE for Teachers from the European Research Center. And in the end, we will have a round table with the main stakeholders who have used SELFIE for Teachers in Albania. They will be teachers, directors, representatives of the agency, and some of us who were experts in this study, and also representatives from the Macedonian team, because this initiative was made in the context of an action that was both in Albania and Northern Macedonia, and we will have Ms. Jordana Janevska. And then we will have the closing remarks from Mr. Evis-Gisti Mr. Alessandro from ETF. So without further ado, I will pass the floor to Ms. Deirdre Hodgson, representative of the European Commission. Thanks and welcome to this meeting.
Thank you so much, Alma. It's fantastic to be here today and great to see so many people joining us. My name is Deirdre Hodgson. I work at the European Commission here in Brussels. I'm in the school education team and I'm working specifically on the green and the digital transitions in education. So right from the beginning, SELFIE for Teachers was created in partnership with the Joint Research Centre, which is our in-house research department at the Commission. So it's really been a partnership of both policy and research. And right from the beginning, we've also worked with our friends and colleagues in the ETF on the usage of the tool outside the 27 EU member states, so in countries such as your own. And let me say, SELFIE for Teachers is much more than just a tool. It's actually part of a wider programme. So SELFIE for Teachers is one of the 13 actions of the Digital Education Action Plan. This is a policy framework for cooperation at European level on digital education. So really at the heart of this policy is the transformation of education and training systems for the digital age. So if you look at that policy, you will see very much educators, teachers, trainers very much in the forefront. So boosting teachers' digital skills is really essential. It's about empowering teachers to create dynamic learning experiences, to enhance accessibility, to engage our learners in creative and exciting ways, helping them connect with life outside the classroom. And educators also have a crucial role in preparing their students to be proficient, creative, and also critical users of the digital technologies that are so much infused into our daily lives these days. But to build these skills requires ongoing reflection and a clear understanding of where improvements can be made. And we believe that's where self-reflection tools like SELFIE for Teachers play a critical role. They can help educators like you, either individually or part of a group, with a structured way to reflect on digital competences. It helps you to identify both strengths and also gaps and areas for growth. So for us, a really important element is about aligning professional development goals with actual needs, based on real evidence and data. And it's about fostering a culture of continuous improvement in digital practices. So by using SELFIE for Teachers in a way that you have done, it gives you valuable insights into the digital competences of your teaching community. And this can be a great starting point to make decisions at both policy and institutional level as well. So SELFIE for Teachers is just one of the many tools that we have to support the education community. And I'm really pleased to announce that in the last few weeks, we launched a version of SELFIE for Teachers for early childhood education and care. That's about using technologies in safe, responsible and age-appropriate ways in the early childhood sector. So I'd also encourage you to explore the sister tool, SELFIE for Schools. We also have a work-based learning version of SELFIE for Schools, and that's about whole school planning for digital capacity building. We also have many other services and tools you may wish to explore, like our Digital Education Hub, our European School Education Community, e-twinning, and of course our Erasmus programme, which really has digital education and digital capacity building very much as a central priority of the programme. So thank you so much. It's a real pleasure to be here today and I'm looking forward to the discussions. Thank you.
Ju falenderojmë, fjala është për zonjën Evis Gishti.
Thanks a lot. Now the floor to Ms. Evis Gishti.
Përshëndetje të gjithëve. Në fakt
So
është
hello.
kënaqësi që jam në këtë
In
takim
fact, it's a pleasure to be in this concluding meeting. And also, on the other hand, I feel a bit sad that we are finishing an exercise in which all of us acted as a team, as a group. So the European Training Foundation, ETF, the European delegation, the agency, vocational schools, the managers and teachers all engaged for the common good to implement a reflection, a self-reflection exercise that assists all of us, so the teachers, educators at individual level, to reflect based on a structured instrument tool to see what are their digital competencies, what is missing, what they can improve. So this was to help them have a personal development plan. We at the management institutions and the VET institutions, in this case the vocational schools, will have this data to develop development programs for their students, and this will help institutions to provide a quality and relevant offer, so relevant to the labor market, because the digital skills are not only soft skills, but are skills that serve the individual in the context of personal life and, above all, professional life, which means that teachers, educators have a very important role in engaging choices of technology and communication technologies in order to ensure a good formation of the new generation. So I will not take more time because I adhere to what the representative lady from the European delegation said. So this was a teamwork, and the outcomes of this teamwork are to be presented today. So ultimately, these results will serve us to see where we stand and what could be the further steps to make use of this data luckily we have available, and then explore the possibility how we can use this instrument in the future so that it becomes part of the development policies, evidence-based policies in the vocational development for students in Albania, particularly for digital skills, and also in the wider context of the digitalization policy, which now is a priority enshrined in the strategic document and of the legal initiatives introduced in Albania. So thanks a lot. I believe I will take the floor again to make a short description to lay the policy context. Thanks, of course. Now we have Mr. Roman from ETF. Roman Botard.
Good afternoon, dear colleagues and dear friends. I'm very happy to be here with you to welcome you to this event where we will discuss your findings on improving digital education and specifically on enhancing your continuous professional development system, as it's called. So although ETF does not have a permanent office in Tirana, that does not stop us from supporting your education and employment systems in many ways. The list of our contributions is long. I won't mention it all, but just a few highlights. We've helped you design the current national strategy for skills and jobs. We're supporting the inclusive rollout of the Youth Guarantee. We're giving technical advice on advancing your dual education system and also improving the qualification frameworks. So in other words, ETF is a key partner in improving your education system and ensuring that young people can enter and contribute to the labor market and the Albanian economy. I must also mention that none of our support would be possible without the commitment and the cooperation of your institutions. And so on behalf of the European Training Foundation, I would like to express our sincere thank you to Avis and her whole team, who have made this possible and such great results. So I won't go into the details of today's event. Alessandro and Alma will take you through it, but I just want to say this. Tomorrow's innovators are in your classrooms today. It is crucial that we close the digital gap, and that work starts in the classroom. I wish you all success in applying the recommendations that will come from today's discussions. And I also assure you that alongside with the European Union delegation, as well as the JRC, the ETF will continue to work with you for the benefit of your education outcomes and youth employability. Thank you very much.
Shumë faleminderit Roman, edhe për neve si Shqipëri.
Thanks a lot, Roman. Also for us as Albania, it's an honor and a privilege to cooperate with the ETF for over 25 years now. Now I will pass the floor to Mr. Besnik Kadesha from the European delegation in Albania. Thanks.
Kisha përgatitur fjalë përshëndetëse në English, më mirë po vazhdojmë në English dhe ndjes për auditorin shqiptar.
Okay, I'm going to speak in English. Sorry.
This is the National Agency for Development Qualifications. Happy to be here and honored to be here with you, and it's so great to see so many participants, teachers interested in the findings of the SELFIE for Teachers as a self-reflection tool. I'd like to start with very shortly with back in March 2024, Albania government together with the donors like the EU, SDC, UNDP conducted the National Web Conference, in which one of the highlights and priorities was set as vocational education and training as a way to contribute directly to the economic growth and through the participation and collaboration of the private sector. We are all aware that the recent development in digital and technology and the green agenda are affecting business operations of many companies and corporations and their operations, not only at EU level, but also.
We cannot hear you. The point is that his mic is very bad. I cannot hear anything. Yes, probably now Alma is saying probably there is a problem with the mic.
Deniska, please go ahead. Everything is working from your side.
So we usually do effects and we'll assume. Is it better now?
Yes, better.
Can you hear me?
Yes, Besnik, you may go on. Mund vazhdosh, Besnik.
Thank you.
Yes, you can go on.
What I'm saying is that the recent digital and technological developments and changes are, and especially the green agenda, are affecting the business operations, not only at the EU level, at the EU market, but also in the Western Balkan economies, and here including Albania. These business companies, which are embracing those new technologies, are requiring workforce, people, specialists, workers with new skills that are required to master digital transition and green transition. And this workforce, including the adolescents that you are teaching and that are getting ready to work, will need to be able to get the right education and training in order for them to be successful in their professional and individual life. The change to green and digital associated with the respective challenges require more sophisticated set of competencies than before. The widespread of digital devices, apps, applications require educators and teachers to develop these digital technologies. In this respect, empowered and very well trained education and training teachers will be able to use digital technologies in order to enhance and innovate education and make learning of these adolescents more experiential and rewardable. What before used to be a process of you learn, then you move to work, then you retire, now it's becoming all in one, where learning and working are blended together. SELFIE for Teachers as a self-assessment tool that are helping teachers reflect on only how they use digital technologies. The benefit of it is, if it is used in Albania, can help align quality standards in digital education between EU and Albania. EU delegation through different programs and initiatives are very much and strongly supporting that education in Albania. Recently, EU for Youth Employment, the operational program, it's a flagship program for youth, EU for Youth piloting of youth development, labor market inclusion, EU for employment and social inclusion, Erasmus Plus, and are some of the initiatives supported by the EU through a holistic approach by investing in skill development, employment, and social inclusion. Investing in the high quality and innovative vocational education and training means investing in the future of our workforce, making sure that they have skilled workers to drive the growth and boost industries. Educated and well-trained individuals will fill the gaps of the mismatch in the labor market, minimize shortages, and increase productivity. At the same time, skills development promote civic engagement, citizens contributing positively to their communities. Looking forward, the right to education, training, and lifelong learning needs to become a reality for everyone, from Tirana to remote rural areas. This is at the heart of the EU policies also expressed in the European Pillar of Social Rights. I'd like to wish you great successes with your school and application in Albania, and not only in the health sector, but also in the general education sector. Thank you.
Ju falenderojmë.
Thank you very much. I would like to give the floor to Evis Gishti to briefly present in the field of digitalization and education in Albania. Thank you, Alma.
Nuk do flas shumë gjatë, por ama do të marr një fjalë duke dhënë
So I will
informacion
be
lidhur
brief
me
and I will
gjendjen
give
e
the
zhvillimeve
the
në
basic
digitalizimin
information
e
about
arsimit
the
në formë
developments
profesionale
in
për të dhënë dhe kontekst
VET
diskutimit,
in
po
order
dhe
to
gjetjeve
give
që vijnë
context to the
nga studimi
discussion and
konkret duke
also
zbatuar
the
instrumentin
findings to the
SELFIE for
findings
Teachers.
from this concrete study
Në
using the
fakt,
instrument SELFIE for
skuadri i
Teachers.
lartë një sfondi
In
politik
fact, in the
dhe backgroundi
context
politik
of a
që
policy
ekziston
background
në
that
vend, ka
exists
diskutim që
in
agenda
Albania,
digitale
for sure, the
për
digital agenda
e Bashkimit Evropian e vitit 2020,
of
po
the
dhe për
EU
vit vitit 2020,
2020, but
ka
even
një
beyond that,
agenda politik në nivel
were
të
policy
Bashkimit Evropian
documents
që ka
at EU
influencuar
level that
dhe ka
inspired
informuar nisma
and
ligjore në shkollë
informed legal
dhe
initiatives in
respektivisht
Albania,
ligjin për arsimin dhe
and
formimin profesional,
precisely the
ligjin
law
për
on
kornizën shqiptare të
vocational education
perspektivave,
and
për
training,
krijimin e një sistemi të arsimit dhe formimit
the law
profesional
on
fleksibël,
the
të hapur
framework
dhe relevant për tregun e punës,
of
pra duke
competences and the
hapur një
strategy.
dritare për
So
adresimin e sfidave
they
të
opened a
ekonomisë dhe
window
tregut dhe sfida që
in
lidhen
coping
edhe
with the
me
challenges of
digitalizimin,
the
edhe me
labor
ekonominë e
market
gjelbër
that
dhe
involve
aspekte tjera që
digitalization,
saktë janë
involve
pjesë e
green
zhvillimeve
economy, and other
teknologjike në
aspects that are part of the
ekonominë kombëtare
technological
apo në ato
developments in the
ndërkombëtare.
domestic
Dhe
and
pa diskutim, duke qenë
international
se janë
economy.
element, aspekte shumë
And
të
for
rëndësishme,
sure,
sidomos
now these
digitalizimi,
being very
mund të
important
them që është
aspects,
pjesë e
particularly
mësimshme
digitalization,
strategjisë kombëtare të arsimit,
this is an
që në fakt
important
është
part
hartuar edhe në
of
kohën e
the
Covidit,
education
që do të thotë
strategy,
pa
which
diskutim që
was
digitalizimi në atë
drawn
kohë
up during
arsim
the COVID
solli dhe
time.
një vlerë të ftuar nga
Back then,
pikpamja e
digitalization and
përdorimit, po edhe të
education represented an
rezultateve dhe
added
pa
value in
diskutim
terms of
tregon një
use
nga
and outcomes,
komponentët kryesor
and
të kësaj
represents one
strategjie që
of the
ka
main
që është
components
vlerësuar
of
përmes
this
aktiviteteve
strategy that
konkrete.
was addressed through
Ndërkohë që për
concrete
arsimin dhe
activities.
formimin profesional, pa
Whereas
diskutim,
for the
digitalizimi
VET,
nuk është se
for
po
sure,
flasim për herë të parë. Pra,
we are
është
not
një
talking for the
aspekt,
first
është
time
një
about
trend që në fakt
digitalization. This is an
po shihet prej
aspect, this is a
vitesh
trend
dhe
that
që në fakt
has
ka adresuar
surfaced
përmes
many
politikave
years
të
ago
caktuara.
and was
Duke
addressed
filluar që nga
through
strategjia
certain
kombëtare
policies,
për arsim
starting
dhe
with the
mësim
national
2010,
strategy
ku
on
një nga
employment and
komponentët
skills,
kryesor ka digitalizimin
in
në
which
FP,
one of the
po
main
dhe në punësim,
components
duke
is in
krijuar
digitalization
mundësinë
in
e
VET
zhvillimit
and
dhe të
employment,
aplikimit të zgjedhjeve të
providing
teknologjisë informacionit
opportunities
në
to,
aspekte
to
të ndryshme të
in the
lëvizjes
choice
të
of
arsimit dhe
technology
formimit
in
profesional,
VET.
por
but
Gjithashtu edhe
also
krijojmë një fokus të veçantë
giving
të
a
aftësive
particular
digjitale të të
focus
rinjve
to
dhe të
digital
rriturve,
skills
por
of
edhe aftësive
youth
digjitale të
and adults,
mësuesve
but
në
also
proceset
digital
mësimore, në
skills of
proceset
the
përgjegjësimit
teachers,
mësuesve.
educators in the teaching
Ndërkohë, në
process and
harmoni me
learning
këtë
process.
strategji është miratuar
Now,
edhe plani
in
kombëtar
synergy with this
i
strategy,
deklaratës
there was
Osnabrukut, që pa
the national
diskutim një
plan
nga
of the
shtyllat
Osnabrück
kryesore për
Declaration.
cilat
It was
ne do
adopted,
raportojmë për zhvillime
and
progrese,
we
është edhe
report for this.
digitalizimi në arsim dhe formim
This
profesional, si një aspekt
digitalization
i cili
also
duhet
in
trajtuar
VET as
në
an aspect
formën
that
që
must be
të ketë investime
addressed
të caktuara në
in the form
infrastrukturë,
that there
investime
must
të
be
caktuara në zhvillim
investments in
kapacitete, ashtu dhe
infrastructure,
pa diskutim një
investments
indikator
in
mirë
capacity
përcaktuar,
building, and
që në
this to be
fakt
measured
japin
by
vlerë
well-defined indicators
zhvillimit
that give
modern të
value
arsimit
to
dhe
the
formimit
modern
profesional. Në
development
linjë me
of
këto dokumenta
VET.
politik dhe
In
kur
line with these
flas
policy documents,
për sa i përket zhvillimeve të kësaj natyre, pa diskutim që
so
stafet drejtuese vazhdimtose
in such
në mjedisin
developments,
shqiptar të arsimit
the
dhe formimit
teaching
profesional janë të
staffs
përgjegjësuar,
of
është dhe një
VET
roadmap
systems
shqiptar
are aware
për
of this.
zhvillimin modern të arsimit dhe
There is
formimit
also a
profesional të
roadmap
bazuar në
for the
teknologjinë e
development of
informacionit
modern
dhe
VET
komunikimit.
based on
Dhe është një instrument
ICT.
që në fakt ka
And
parashikuar
it's
edhe
this instrument, this
veprimtari
roadmap,
konkret
that
për sa i
has
përket trajtimit të
envisaged
aspekteve
concrete
digjitale në
activities in
zbatimin e
introducing
kurikulave të
digital
arsimit dhe
elements in
formimit
the
profesional.
delivery of VET
Dhe
curricula.
ky roadmap në fakt ka përcaktuar
This roadmap
visionin,
has defined
por edhe
the vision
objektivat
and the
sipas të cilave
objectives
duhet të zhvillohet një
under
sistem modern
which
i
a
arsimit dhe formimit
modern
profesional,
VET
duke u
system
mbështetur në
must be
teknologjinë e
developed,
informacionit dhe
relying
komunikimit.
on the
Patjetër që qëllimi
ICT.
final i këtij
For
roadmapi
sure,
është
the ultimate
përgatish
goal of
nxënësit
this
shqiptar
roadmap is to
të arsimit
prepare
dhe të formimit
Albanian
profesional me
students in
aftësitë
VET,
digjitale
so
të
equip
nevojshme
them with
që
the
i shërbejnë për
required
të
digital
integruar në tregu të
skills,
punës për një jetë
serving
më të
them
denjë
to
dhe për të ardhur për një
get
karrierë
in the
të
labor
suksesshëm
market
në të
with a
ardhmen.
decent job
Dhe
and to
patjetër që
have a
janë element shumë
successful
të
career
rëndësishëm,
in the future.
ndërkohë që fokusi veçantë në këtë roadmap është
And
vënë edhe për
particular focus
aftësi
in this
digjitale
roadmap is
për të
placed
mbështetur
on
proceset e
digital
mësimdhënies,
skills in
mësimdhënies, pra
supporting
duke marrë
teaching
në
and
qendër
learning
mësimdhënësit
processes.
dhe nxënësit për t'i
So at the
drejtuar në
center
pikpamje
are the
zhvillimit të
teachers
tyre
and the
profesional për sa i
students
përket aftësive digjitale, por
in
edhe
terms
për
of
sa i
their digital
përket
skills,
edhe proceseve që lidhen me zbatimin
but
e kurrikullit
also
që ka
the
të bëjë me drejtsimin e
processes that
nxënësve,
involve the delivery
aspekteve
of
që lidhen me
curricula
infrastrukturën
or the
digjitale që
evaluation of
patjetër duhet të jetë
students or
mbështetëse në
aspects of digital
zhvillimin e
infrastructure
aftësive
that
moderne
must
të
be
së ardhmes për
supportive
sa i
in the
përket
development of modern
digjitalizimit.
skills
Pa
in
diskutim,
digitalization.
roadmapi është pjesë e përpjekjeve
For
më të
sure, the
mëdha të qeverisë
roadmap is
shqiptare
part of the
që
major efforts
digitalizimi
of the
tashmë të
Albanian
quhet
government
përpashkët që flitet në
so
sistemin e
that
arsimit dhe formimit
digitalization is
profesional
the
si
common
një teknologji
language in the
mbështetëse që në fakt i
VET
shërben
as a support
relevancës dhe
technology
zhvillimit
that
cilësor
serves the relevance
të
and the quality
arsimit dhe formimit
development of the
profesional në vend.
VET in the country.
Next slide, please.
Next slide, please.
Nga fjalët më përpara dhe unë fillova të flas diçka tek fjala hapse, po
So in
patjetër
my
unë nuk
opening
lëm dukës se
remarks, I mentioned something, but
digitalizimi në fakt është një trend botëror. Por nuk është
digitalization
se ka
is
ndaluar,
a
nuk ka
global
përfunduar, nuk ka
trend,
ndaluar në Shqipëri. Pra
and it's
është një
not that it
zhvillim
has
që
stopped
patjetër
in
na
the
ka
world or in
impaktuar në
Albania.
një
So
formë
this is
apo
a
në një
development
tjetër.
that has
Dhe pa
impacted us
diskutim
in
që
one way or another.
institucionet
And
përgjegjëse të
for
arsimit dhe
sure, the
formimit
competent
profesional kanë
VET
marrë disa nisma që
institutions have
patjetër që
launched some
ti
initiatives
përgjigjen sfidave të
to
sjellë
respond to
digitalizimi
the
drejt
challenges
natyrës,
brought
në
by the
ekonomi,
digitalization in
jo
the labor
kombëtare, po dhe ato
market and
rajonale dhe
in the
ndërkombëtare.
domestic
Dhe
economy
disa
and
nga
regional
nismat
international
unë do përmbytet
economy.
disa
And
prej
I'm
tyre.
going to
Kuptohet që
mention
ashtu
some of these initiatives.
neve
There are many.
si Shqipëri patjetër që
And
kemi
we,
pasur dhe fatin që
Albania, have
mbështetemi nga
had the luck
partner
to be
që ka një
supported
fokus
by
veçantë sidomos
partners
në terma
with
të zhvillimit
focus
të
on
arsimit dhe formimit profesional duke përdorur teknologjinë e
VET by
informacionit
using
dhe
ICT.
patjetër që jemi ekspozuar edhe
And
me
for sure,
zhvillimet që kanë
we
ndodhur edhe
were
në vende tjera të
exposed to the
bashkimit evropian.
developments
Dhe disa nga
that
këto zhvillime
happened
mund
in
të
the other
përmenden për
EU
sa i përket
countries.
zhvillimit të kapaciteteve,
Some of these
janë
developments
zhvilluar
could
një
be
tërësi
in terms of
trajnimesh për sa i
capacity
përket
building.
aftësive
So
digjitale
many
të
training
mësimdhënësve.
events were
Dhe
delivered
këtu
on
besoj,
developing the
meqense pjesa më
digital
e madhe e
skills of the
mësimdhënësve të
teachers,
shkollave të
educators. And
gjithë kanë qenë
since many
dëshmitar të
of us here are,
përfitimit nga
many of the
trajnimet që janë
participants
zhvilluar
are
në këtë
teachers
fillim edhe
and
nga
their
partnerët që
principals,
janë
or
siç
witnessed
projekti
these
Sisera Skills
were
for Job.
with,
Gjithashtu kemi
witnessed
programin e
these
trajnimit
training
kombëtar që
sources,
është baza e
training events,
Kopernikës, 30
such
ditor.
as the
Në
Swiss
fakt ka qenë
project.
25 ditor për ato
There
që
was
kanë njohur, është
also
bërë 30
an
ditor dhe
event. It was
duke i dhënë
25 days,
këto
became
një
30.
fokus
That
shumë
is the
veçantë,
basic
sidomos
of the
mësimdhënies dhe
didactics
mediave
in
digjitale.
VET. that post the focus on digital media in delivering the teaching. So the new recruited teachers are exposed to a mandatory module and they must pass this module in order to become teachers in VET. Now, the training events about the various aspects of digitalizations were undertaken also with the coordinators of the development units. These development units are becoming very valuable in the vocational schools. So the training focused on quality development, and in quality development, the main thing is technology, which must be taken into consideration and used to develop the relevance and quality of these levels and standards that the national quality framework and international quality frameworks require. Now, infrastructure. Investments were made. Investments will continue to be made in digital infrastructure in order to increase internet speed. And these are initiatives that have not stopped, but are rolling out and will develop in the future. There is a digital platform was used, MESO VET, which introduced some elements of combined teaching or totally online in some cases. And also this was used also for the training of trainers or the training of support staff in the VET institutions. Now, the digital materials were developed, continue to be developed as an element that brings added value, particularly equipping the teachers, educators with those mini texts that guide them, orient them to deliver the teaching. There are also other initiatives that are similarly relevant related to ICT. One of them is the establishment of the sectorial community on the ICT, which is growingly developing an offer of digital qualifications. And above all, as a sector committee, it promotes the integration or mainstreaming of digital skills and other competencies that may be also outside the area of ACT into professions that are growingly using technology to be more effective in delivering products or services. All the vocational qualifications are based on learning outcomes or results, and these themselves rely on the use of technologies. Digital skills are becoming more and more part of the curricula that are used in vocational schools. There is growing cooperation with the private sector, which in fact is the one that develops technology and brings novelties directly through cooperation with schools. And what is and witness of that is the dual education that is being piloted in 6 vocational schools. There are also other initiatives, but I believe some of you are witnesses of them, so in order to save time. But the trend is that growingly the climate, the VET, is opening more and more to the ICT for the purpose of delivering a qualitative VET offer and a relevant offer as required by the labor market. Let's move on to the next slide. So, sorry, if you could wrap it up because of time constraint. Thanks. Now let's move on to SELFIE for teachers. Now, why is it relevant or important to Albania? I mentioned it. It is important because it is part of the national major policies we have in the mainstreaming of digitalization in the VET. It is important because it leads us to development processes that rely on data coming from the implementation of this study. And today we are going to be witnesses of the results that came out from the study that, of course, will be the object of our work. And also relying on an evidence-based approach, there will be transforming initiatives at the VET sector that will support the teaching staff and also the students in order to develop the ongoing VET development. Next slide and the last one. I will be brief,
Even though it is important.
although it is important. So I
So
will be brief in the last slide. So for sure, we are exposed to some of the findings, and we are part of the process. And we think that this cannot be the only moment. We suggest that such an instrument be implemented periodically, regularly, so that we get concrete evidence and to serve further policies and initiatives. What we think to be important in the future and to be implemented is that the ongoing vocational development coordinator must have the role she had when the SELFIE for Teachers was introduced. So the coordinator may coordinate this process as part of the analysis of the needs of the teachers and then for the development of plans for their vocational development. And last but not least, such a study so the implementation of such tool will reflect in the teachers and at national level, in fact, made us reflect too, that we must change the teaching program of teachers by bringing it more in line with the European digital competence framework, and so that this later serves to all the qualification initiatives for the on-the-job qualification of teachers. This said, I want to make some acknowledgements besides thanking the ETF, the European Commission, the experts, but a particular thank to the principals, to the teachers who plunged into this exercise, a bit skeptical, just like us at national level, but now they are attaching seriousness to it, and now we can see what are the results and how these results can be used to further improve their activity at both personal and institutional level. Thanks a lot, and I look forward to looking at the results that are going to be brought in this meeting. This said, I will give the floor to Alessandro, who has been the main supporter when he went even further than supporting, because by emails he reminded us we need to do this, we need to do that. So I want to thank him for all the effort. Now the floor to Alessandro.
Thank you, Avis. Thank you for given the background information. So the digitalization of vocational education and training in Albania is not something new. And it started since in 2014 and with a lot of innovations such as dual systems and etc. So congratulations for all this effort. So my name is Alessandro Brolpito. I led from the ETF side this SELFIE for Teacher study that has been done in parallel in Albania and in North Macedonia. My focus is on innovation in teaching and learning, and with specific attention to the digitalization of education and training system. So let me introduce briefly ETF. The European Union is a big family. There is the Commission that Didra was representing, and there are also agencies of the European Union. ETF is an agency of the European Union. We focus on the human capital development. What does it mean? It means we focus on education and training and labor market reform. And ETF, the European Training Foundation, focus its work on in the neighborhood countries with priority to candidate countries such as Albania. Albania is a candidate country, so we support the European Union external relation through interventions such as SELFIE for Teachers. And we do this collecting data, developing knowledge, providing policy advice. Now, let's look to the, let's say, to the SELFIE for Teachers. Avis already introduced it. This is a European tool. So it means that it's used in the European Union by member states, by school, as you have done in your school in Albania. It is a full online tool to help primary and secondary, but we have a great news with Deidre in the welcome panel that is also for early education by now. So to support teachers in developing their digital competence. So what they do know, it's a self-reflection process, which is not easy sometimes, but is important to really reflect on the extent to which I'm using the technology and how from a pedagogical point of view. And it helps us to discover what could be improved. Next slide, please. And as was mentioned by Deidre from the European Commission, the SELFIE for Teachers is part of a digital education European framework of initiative. And SELFIE for Teachers is one of these. So I'm very glad that we managed to do so well this exercise in Albania. As a candidate country, this is, to me, in my view, a very important step to have a common tools and standard and reference of what does it mean to be digitally competent nowadays after the COVID-19 in our schools and society. Next slide. So here is an important slide because it's explaining what does it mean to be digitally competent. There are for the teachers nowadays. Of course, you may have different reference framework. This is the one used by SELFIE for Teachers. There are, as I said, 6 competence areas. So how I'm using and to what extent I'm using the digital technologies, let's say, for professional engagement and for professional learning, to prepare digital resources for my lessons, in teaching and learning, in hybrid, in the classroom, online, to support an assessment, to innovate assessment, to foster, for example, more formative assessment, or also to empowering learners. Or last but not least, Besnike from the EU delegation was stressing we need to prepare your students for the digital age. So as long as you are using technologies in your teaching and learning, you are helping your students to get confident to be digitally competent. So the 6 areas are the ones in this slide. And within each area, there are a set of slides that compose the 22 self-reflection questions that you have to go through. It's very interesting to highlight that the SELFIE for Teachers, this is, you may, if you are a teacher that participated to this exercise, you already experienced directly, but for the others, it's important to highlight that the use of SELFIE for Teachers include a progression model from A1 to C2. It's a way to really start raising awareness of what I can do if I use digital technologies and going through exploring, integrating different tools to achieve certain learning outcomes, to be expert, to lead in your schools, and to make applied research, to make some innovation based. So you can go from A1 to A2. That's why, as Avis was mentioning, it's very important that on regular basis, for example, every 2 years, to run this exercise, to see where you are in your journey to get confident with digital technologies. Next slide. So this is about the process that the teachers participating to this exercise we're following. So basically, it's like other survey, but this is not a survey, it's a questionnaire. But in any case, there was a registration to the EU system. There was the self-reflection process responding to 22 seconds, taking approximately 30 minutes. Getting an individual feedback. Anastasia from the Joint Research Center, after me, is going to present the key findings of the aggregated data. anonymize aggregated data, but each teacher participating received an individual feedback. Next slide. So this is in a nutshell what you, as a teacher, you can get using SELFIE for Teachers. You can have for the 22 competencies an overview of your competency. Some might be to A1, somebody could be B1 on B2. You don't need to be C2 in all competence. Probably nobody is C2 for all, but it's important that you focus and reflect on the digital competences that are important for your subject, for your teaching and learning experience. Key features of this tool is just to remind that it's free online, is in Albanian, but in other approximately 30 languages, including the EU ones, but also, for example, Macedonian, and it's going to be translated in Montenegrin and etc. All answers are anonymous. This is very important. To have a genuine self-reflection, nobody have to see apart your answer. In this way, this tool is ensuring anonymity. Keep this in mind. And it's 100% digital, so the process can be organized and managed through a digital process. Next slide. As I said, this is we started in Albania and North Macedonia in 2024. We probably proceed in the Western Balkans in Montenegro and Bosnia and Herzegovina in 2025, in next year. So the idea is to offer a common tool to all the Western Balkan region to reflect and develop the digital competence of the teachers. I think from a regional perspective, this would be an important achievement to allow a same understanding and same progression model or similar, let's say, in the region. It's very important for knowledge sharing to have cross-regional initiatives to develop digital competences. Deirdre was mentioning, for example, the Erasmus project. We could really reflect also in this respect to bring innovation through digital technologies in teaching and learning. Next slide. So this is, you can read on your own, and to be faster, because we are running a bit late, how to use a SELFIE for a teacher tool to support the development of digital competence. So we wanted to do something for the national authorities, for NAVET-Q, for AVIS agency. We wanted to provide anonymized aggregate data representative of the digital competence of the VET teacher for vocational and general subject. And we made it. And Anastasia in the next presentation is going to provide more details. We wanted to also, with this data, inform the EU policies. There are important initiatives from the European Union in the country, and we are going to publish a report. I will give more details later on. And so these are important at national level, at school level for the teachers, but also for the EU initiative. So this is very quickly. I'm not going to read this slide at all, just to highlight that a process like this at system level, it takes almost a year. We took a first quarter of the year to prepare, to set up a team in Albania, and et cetera, to design a representative sample. Then we had the monitoring, collection of data, and then we had the analysis and the dissemination with today. Next slide, please. So this is just to highlight the institutions that have been involved. So there are EU institutions. There are also national institutions, and because we proceed in VET in Albania, we had NAVET-Q leading the VET, the SELFIE for Teacher team in Albania. Okay, I would stop here with my presentation. Of course, if you have questions and comments, you can use the chat line. And now I pass the floor to a very important part. Pass the floor to Anastasia Economou from the Joint Research Center, basically, Anastasia was taking care of the analysis of the aggregate data. And now Anastasia is going to present the key findings, providing some recommendation. So Anastasia, the floor is yours.
Many thanks, Alexandro, and many thanks to everyone. Good afternoon. First of all, apologies for my voice. I try to be more clear in talking. So, as already mentioned, the Joint Research Center is the Directorate General of the European Commission, where we do research. So, in 2017, we published the European framework for the digital competence of educators, and DigComeDo that Alessandro presented. And in 2020, we designed and published in 2021 the SELFIE for Teachers tool, which is based on DigComeDo. And it's a more practical approach to guide teachers to self-reflect in order to assess their digital competence based on 32 questions that guide them through this exercise. So in this exercise with Albania and North Macedonia, as already mentioned, the aim was to support national strategies and action plans based on evidence and using SELFIE for Teachers specifically to provide evidence on how, and you will see the two research questions here, of how teachers in Albania, especially teachers in vocational education, secondary vocational education, perceive their digital competence, and also what digital competences, areas, and topics are more relevant to the needs of secondary education, VET, and teachers in Albania. Next slide. So in order to be able to give results with a high confidence level, we followed a sampling that it was random and also representative. And you will see here that we had 1,071 teachers, the population of the study, who are teachers who teach the VET subjects, but also general subjects in VET schools. And in our sample, we had 664 teachers and a high response rate, 86.3%, which means that we have the findings, we have a high confidence in order to understand them in the whole population of this study. So in order to collect the data, we adapted the tool for teachers in the languages in Albania. So we proceeded with this exercise. In the data analysis, we looked at the participants' characteristics, the self-reflection results, but also some digital competence in relation to participants' characteristics. Today, I will focus on the first two parts. We also have the publication that is going to be soon available on this report, but also you have the working papers that you will be able to go through in more detail. So the respondents, the participants in this study, were teachers with more of the teachers had had 1 to 10 years of experience. And in the next slide, we will see that these teachers, in the next slide, they declared that they find it easy to work with digital technologies and devices. They use internet extensively in their day-to-day activities. They are members of various online networks, and they try new digital technologies as apps, programs, devices, and resources. So this is approximately the representative sample in Albania. Also, they consider that there is digital equipment available in their classroom, internet, the students have access to digital devices and internet, and mainly, very important, it's that, yes, you see the slide, thank you. And most importantly is that the school leadership supports the integration of digital technology in teaching and learning. And also that in the school, there are professional development activities organized, And a lot of teachers are using technologies in their teaching practice. So this is a very good picture. And we feel confident to say that maybe this is the picture in the VET education in Albania. And this aligns with all the efforts that have started already from 2014, as we have seen. In the next slide, we see the average of results. So this is how teachers, VET teachers in Albania, perceive their digital competence. And this is their understanding that they are at B1 level of the SELFIE for Teachers tool. Alessandro explained that we have this progression model, and B1 means that teachers can experiment with digital technologies in a variety of contexts and for a range of purposes. So that's a very good level. And then we will see what the next level could be. In the next slide, which is a bit overwhelming to see, I will try to explain it to you. So you will see the different colors, where the green color is proficiency level B1, where the teachers perceive their competence as an average. Here we see the percentage of teachers who belong to each of these proficiency levels. So let's take, for example, the first line, which is the proficiency engagement, which is organizational communication. So you will see that we have very few teachers in the blue A1, that is very low competence, and most of the teachers in this first item are quite advanced. So this is very important. So in organizational communication, teachers in Albania consider themselves quite competent. The same with digital resources one. This is about the 10th line, which means that teachers, they consider themselves that they can search and select digital resources quite competently. However, you will see the second line, which is online learning environment, so proficiency engagement number 2, the second line. You will see that we have a big blue and orange color. So we understand that we have less teachers that they consider themselves more competent in this area. And as well, if you go further down in the last two ones, which they refer to safety and well-being and responsible use on behalf of the learners. So in these two items, the teachers facilitate their students' digital competence. We see again that we have more teachers in the lower levels. However, it's very important to understand that we have a lot of teachers that they believe they belong to B1. We have teachers, though, that they are in A1 and A2, so we need to support these teachers as well. But at the same time, we see that we have teachers that they believe that they are quite competent. And you will see that the pink, light blue, they are there. So it's very nice to understand that these people, these teachers, can support the others within the school and help them. If we go to the next slide, we can see that the teachers in Albania perceive themselves more competent in the first area, which is professional engagement, and less in facilitating their learners' digital competence. And this is quite important, and as we have seen, and we will see in the next slide as well, that shows the average of the digital competence of the teachers and how they perceive it. We will see that in the last two, 6.4 and 6.5, which has to do with safety and well-being and responsible use, it's the lowest average. So it's quite important to maybe focus on this, how to facilitate the students in order to be able to use technologies responsibly with safety for their well-being. If we go to the next slide, we see here, if we can go with all the points at once because of the timing, it's important to see that teachers perceive themselves in a level of B1, as we said, while we have a few areas that maybe they will need more attention. Like, for example, we already mentioned the online learning environments, emerging technologies, safety and well-being. It's very important in the next slide to see that, if we go to the next slide with the recommendations, that we have the participants believing that they can use digital technologies, experiment with digital technologies in a variety of contexts for a range of purposes. So the next step will be to really engage into using digital technologies purposefully, selecting digital technologies for specific learning aims, more critically selecting digital technologies in order to benefit and also support their students to benefit of the opportunities and different digital technologies that the opportunities that different technologies can provide, but also in order to address the challenges that digital technologies include, especially now as we hear with the new emerging technologies and artificial intelligence. So it's important to provide meaningful, relevant professional learning opportunities in all teachers, individual teachers, because as we have seen, we have teachers that believe that they are in A1, A2, C1 and C2. So it's important to facilitate every single teacher into these professional journeys. And another thing that we have seen is that teachers can be supported in designing or co-designing learning activities. And we have seen this as a very important element from other studies that we have done, that teachers, they need to belong to a community in order to have their agency to further develop. And finally, some tips for how to take the next steps. If we go to the next slide, is that we have seen how important it was to have a vision on the national level, and we have seen this here in Albania, and congratulations for that. But we have seen also that sometimes for teachers is perceived as a survey, not something that is for the teacher himself or herself. So it's true that the aggregated data can support, as in this case, the national authorities or the school leadership to plan. However, the self-reflection is there for the teacher to help him or her to understand their own weaknesses, their own strengths, in order to follow up an action plan and further develop. And sometimes self-reflection is not very easy. Actually, it's quite difficult. But we see that through this process, we provide the experience where teachers can be engagedly involved in their professional learning. If you go to the next slide, I just wanted to mention and to close, because we will have to discuss more about the results in the roundtable following this presentation. We will see that something that is quite important is that for teachers, it's more beneficial if it's used within a professional development program, and reassuring the teachers about this anonymity of the exercise. And something that maybe also it's important to understand, if it is embedded in a professional development program within the school or at the national level with training institutions, is that we can assign some coordinators, some coaches to support the teachers in this learning journey. And as we said, it is a learning journey. It is for professional learning. And this can also be acknowledged by the digital badges or the certificate that the teachers can download for their participation. And this can be at any time, a teacher can do a self-reflection in order to see the progress, and also at the national level to do the exercise in order again to see how the progress is being done and what else is missing. So just very roughly in the 10 minutes that we had, to give you an idea of how teachers in Albania self-perceive their digital competence. And now I will pass the floor back to Alessandro for the discussion. Thank you.
Thank you, Anastasia. Now, relax a moment. You had a lot of information, so now we would like to enter in a moment of this event where we would be very happy to hear your voice and your opinion. So, of course, as Anastasia was mentioning, there is a report that is being shared with you after this event with all the details of the analysis of the aggregated anonymized data. This is always to keep it in mind. So now I'm very glad to moderate a roundtable on a possible way forward of SELFIE for teachers in Albania. Of course, just to wrap up very quickly, it's very hard, but I will try. While you are relaxing and perhaps preparing some questions that Alma could collect from the chat or raising your hand. So if you want to verbally intervene, you are very, very welcome. So the point is, we know that after the COVID-19, we need education and training systems that are able to leverage the opportunities that digital technologies offer to you as a teacher to improve the learning experience in a lifelong learning perspective, to improve the learning outcomes, providing what is relevant to the market. No doubt at all about this. But we need data for evidence-based decision. I don't know whether we have training providers, a statewide training provider, but they need to evidence to understand, to know about the real need. And this study is providing clear indication. Anastasia was mentioning, for example, that advanced technologies such as artificial intelligence are still something new. Somebody is a level A1, so it's just hearing about it, but not still confident. So it's very important for Albania to put in place mechanisms like SELFIE for teachers to gather evidence through a self-reflection process. So this is just to wrap up what, let's say, from the different interventions so far. So I'm very glad to moderate this panel, and we will hear about different perspectives from school, from teachers, school leaders coordinating within their school, from data analysts, from Anastasia, and data econometrics expert like Manuela, but also from national stakeholders, one from Albania and one from North Macedonia. So let me introduce the roundtable. So if you go back to the slide, there is Genta Baholi, is a teacher and the head of School Development Unit, Economics and Technical School of Tirana. Welcome, Genta. Then there is Heidi Joni, director of the Georgi Kango and the Herman Jemner Vocational School. Apologize for my pronunciation. Then there is Anastasia Konomu, scientific officer at the Joint Research Center. Then there is Manuela Murti, one of the experts was part of the Albanian team designing the sample for representative data. So I welcome Manuela Murti as a EU and international expert in development and econometrics expert, let's say. Albina Bucci from NavetQ, welcome. And Gordana Janakiewska from North Macedonia. As I said, in parallel, we made the same exercise. So we have, let's say, critical friend that could give us some lesson that learned from her experience in North Macedonia. So if of course, as I said, Alma, please collect and prepare some question afterward. I hope we will have time because we are running a bit late. And I ask to the panelists to be very concise, to go to the point. So, Genta, from your perspective, you are a teacher, you were involved. So it's very important that you say, how was the self-reflection process? How did you use the individual feedback for your professional development? Genta, the floor is yours.
Përshëndetje, Alessandro, përshëndetje të gjithëve, edhe të gjithë panelistëve.
Hello, Alessandro. Hello to all the panelists. Hope you are well. I don't know if you can hear me.
Perfectly.
Okay, faleminderit. Okay, faleminderit. Në fakt,
In fact, what I wanted to say about the digitalization is that this is not a relatively new process in Albania, and in teaching, it is one of the main aspects where the training of teachers must focus on. The tool used in Albania is a very meticulous tool. It went quite deep from A to C1, as Alessandro said, to see the journey of a teacher in developing his digitalization skills. This was a process that, for me, that personally helped me to see at what level I master the skills and what digital skills I master and how I can develop these skills.
Ishte një instrument në fakt me shumë vlerë dhe instrument që më ka bërë të kuptoj që realisht si duhet të përdor më pas çfarë është e rëndësishme në procesin e digitalizimit, si mund të zhvillohem më pas, jo vetëm në fushën e kërkimit të materialit mësimor, por edhe në fushat që lidhen më pas me zhvillimin e tyre, me hartimin e materialeve mësimore, me hartimin e proceseve të caktuara të mësimdhënies. Sot në fakt
the development of curricula and teaching programs, and now we are talking about detailed plans for the vocational development of teachers, and an important focus is occupied by digitalization. And one of these professional aspects, pursuing some courses that have to do with the digital pedagogy, so how a curricula is grown up and how to conduct an online class or combined one that has to do directly with digitalization. It was very important and really good, the exercise we did to see at what level we are currently standing. So what digital competencies I own as a person.
So it sounded as a positive experience. Of course, I would be curious to know also whether you had any glitches, technical glitches, or questions that were really properly translated, because we paid a lot of attention to the translation. With Alma, we were really taking care. We were also checking with teachers. So it's good. But remember, your individual feedback, it's something specifically for you. It's not the data, the aggregated data. It's your feedback. So this is also an important element for your professional development, to select which training to apply for. So thank you. Now I would pass to Heidi, because we realized that hello, Heidi. Thank you for joining. I mean, we realized that it's really important, the role of the school manager or the director, in order to mobilize the teacher. We had a fantastic result, as Anastasia was mentioning. So we had data that are representing we are quite confident to give conclusions that are relevant to all the population. And this was possible because the director was really mobilizing, coordinating this study implementation and the data. So Heidi, first of all, thank you. But my question is, what lesson did you learn from the SELFIE for Teacher study? And I would be grateful if you give us a few hints on how we could improve in future. So we aim to do this on regular basis. What should be do differently in order to do it more effectively and better? Heidi, the floor is yours. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Alessandro. Hello, everyone. I would like to share my experience as a director regarding the use of this tool, very important tool, not only for the teachers, but for us directors as well. As long as we
undertake to teach every student in professional training. What I would like to say is that through this tool, which was a really self-reflective tool, which helped all the teachers in using, like, to reflect on the uses of digital technologies in their activities. The tool has really been helpful in further development of these competencies of teachers, but at the same time, I would say that it could be is an easier platform or tool, more aligned to the needs of these teachers, taking into consideration the inclusive level of the teachers, because not all the teachers have the same digital competencies in our school. We have IT perspective as well, and not all the teachers have the same level of education to understand their digital skills. For other teachers, it has really been difficult. Some teachers found it easy, and some others find it difficult. The results, according to each area and competency, made that based on this self-reflection, helped us to further develop these competences. Of course, they help us as a director in the first place, and after that, to have a development plan of the teachers to include all digital competences, which will help teach the students as well. Technology use in teaching, and of course, including resources, various resources, will improve all areas, all teaching areas by our teachers. So, continuous development of digital competencies is one of the main challenges that we have. As Evis said, we have several strategic documents. We will translate these in school level, and of course, we have detailed plans. And these competencies will make us to review these plans for the continuous professional development of teachers. This is one of the goals of our teachers, and this align. So this tool aligns with our school goals and serves to our objectives.
Thank you, Aida. So it's very important your conclusion as well. How it's important to align the vision and the strategy of the school with the use of on connecting this vision and strategy with the application of SELFIE for teachers. And this is so an instrument that is for all teachers, vocational and the general teacher. Anastasia, I would now pass to you the floor. In the meantime, I hear a very young participant that is very welcome, of course. Anastasia, Heidi was clearly highlighting that there is a population that is variegated with many different levels, no? So this is quite clear. So how we teachers and the school director in particular could use, or even if you want to mention about the system stakeholders, could use this data, their result for the benefit, so to improve their digital competence. The floor is yours, Anastasia.
Yes, actually, it was very interesting to listen to the experiences of the teacher and the school director. So I believe that this feedback is very useful for us in order to provide further support. So, for example, as Heidi said, we have a lot of different levels in teachers, among teachers, and we have seen it from very low competence even to more advanced. And in vet schools, because some disciplines, they are highly based on using technologies for the subject itself. So how do we approach this? So the first thing I wanted to mention is that through this study, we have two different types of data that we can use. The one is the personal data that only the teacher can see, and this is how the teacher can benefit from. So when a teacher feels the self-reflection, first of all, understands what digital competence is, and as Hedi said, maybe because of difficulties, here they might need some support from other colleagues, or maybe the school leadership can support or facilitate this process or how to do a self-reflection, because it's not easy. And especially when we are learning, because for teachers it's a learning process, learning new terms. I mean, we're looking at, for example, emerging technologies. What is this? What is generative AI? So these are learning processes, so it will take some time, and the teachers need support depending on their level, as mentioned as well. So this is first thing that we should keep in mind, that the school management needs to facilitate the process for the teachers to further develop. The second one is that the teachers receiving their feedback report with their personal results in the graphs that you showed before, but also with steps how to level up. It's important that they use it. Again, it's their evidence of their own needs, of their gaps, their strengths, in order to plan their own action to further develop as well. And here we have seen that it's very good and very helpful to share these ideas and actions with other colleagues in order to plan together their professional learning. And at the same time, when a teacher goes through the self-reflection, we have the contribution to the aggregated data. So this is what we had. These are the results that we had at the national level. And as you mentioned, this is anonymized aggregated data, but gives us the self-perception of the teachers in the country in order to plan. And imagine that a school director organizes such an exercise on school level. So the teachers are facilitated depending on their level to do the exercise. So the school director can, for example, can give 1 hour in the week in order to do the self-reflection, guide the teachers, support them in this process. And then when the exercise is finished in the school already knows the needs and the strengths of the school teachers there, and this can be used. Now we have seen in the whole country what the needs are, and of course each school can also look at this and together with the teachers discuss about it and organize trainings, resources. I mean, for example, you mentioned generative AI. What is this? Where can we find some resources? And one weakness that we have with the tool is not weakness, actually. It's not a feature that we plan to do because at European level it's difficult. It's the connection to resources. So this is to the school or the national level or the training institution level, because the for teachers can be used at different levels, school, institution, training institution, for example, as well, and connect this with resources and trainings that are more focused on the needs of the teachers.
Thank you, Anastasia. So you are providing concrete tips that highlight the role of the director. So the self-reflection exercise is taking 20 minutes, 30 minutes, 40 minutes. Take your time to do it, but then it's important to reflect on the result, to discuss in a way that it's possible to make something tailored, specific. This is very important. So there are common training and that can address on average everyone. For example, an introduction on advanced technology, that is the example that we are using, that then we might need different let's say, training or resources to learn to address specifically your challenges in teaching your subject. So this is an important. So it's very important that at school level, not only at the system level, but even at the school level, the results are used to tailor, to support, to tailor the learning to the speed, pace, and content that is relevant. And this could be done and facilitated by the school director. Thank you, Anastasia, for your hints. Now, Manuela, I would like to pass the floor to you, no? Because taking now a system perspective, why data collection is important for country analysis? And is important also the quality of sampling. I remember when you were designing the sampling for Albania, you pay a lot of attention to ensure gender, region, a proper, a right representation. So why this is important? The floor is yours, Manuela.
Faleminderit shumë, Alexandro, për
Thanks a lot, Alexander, for allocating or assigning an X time for sampling. The sampling, let's say, responds to all those matters we have addressed so far, but I am sure that the audience, while working in filling out this evaluation, both at individual level or put efforts at institutional level, all of them had this question, wondered, why us? Why our school? Why only us? Why me? And I want to say that in an evaluation or research process, sampling is one of the most important elements that holds strong an evaluation at the standards required. Now, to say it in a clearer way, all the participants managed to complete the individual self-evaluation and all received a report, and so where they stand at using technology in teaching. So they saw this evaluation of digital skills. But as mentioned, if we go wider, the educational policy-making authorities need to have a picture, an analysis of data at individual level, but now aggregated at a national level. So national composed by individual evaluations. So in order to do this, to collect data, as Director Gishti said, we need to have periodic, regular data and evaluations, and we need to have evidence-based decisions, because we want to make interventions for the on-the-job development. So besides the individual evaluation that each individual got while participating in this, we would like for the national goals that respond also to international goals. Let's not forget that Albania has embarked on the process of the EU negotiations, and it has really clear goals in education. This evaluation defines so the sampling enables this collection of data. Samples are used in every research and studies. Why the sample is so valuable in any study? For sure, the study relies on scientific approaches, and it's not in vain that there was a cooperation to make the sampling that was together with the European Research Center and with the support of the National Agency for VET. All these three agencies together ensure that this sample is representative in the data it will collect, meaning that everything that Anastasia presented, all those findings that were broken down for the further development of the policies, all the data that will be part of the public report that is expected to be published will be reliable, credible, In the Anastasia slides, we saw what is the deviation, data deviation from the sample, for the sample to be representative for all the country. And we saw that the margin, that the deviation was quite small, meaning that everybody may use the report and the data in it for institutional, national purposes to respond to the strategies and also to the objectives in the context of EU integration. So, briefly, the data is solid. The data is standardized and can be used, I refer again to Director Kishti, can be used for comparability periodically and to make them accessible to the public and to policymakers, like the line ministries, which and this digitalization data is relevant to them. So updating this data, which will continue, will give us the possibility to have comparisons with us, ourselves, with the regional countries, and with the EU target, so that we can see whether we are at point A, since the progression was presented by Alessandro, so to see where we stand, where we are, and what is our destination, so that all of us are on the same track, on the same highway. For all of us to be on the same track, we use a sample to obtain standardized data. It is key for national standardized policies. I hope so briefly to have explained why the sample is important.
Thank you, Manuela. It's very important what you say. So in the meantime, I would like also to say to Lulieta Daoti, that is connected for the Ministry of Economy, welcome. And Olena Beck as well, that is my colleague in ETF, working with me on leading this initiative in Albania. But Manuela, what you say is very important. Somebody were really saying, why me? To be involved. But even if somehow the teachers connected today was not involved, the data that Anastasia was let's say, presenting, the result that was presenting are also applicable with a good margin to you, because this is Manuela that worked is a part of the Selfie for Teacher national team, was designing scientifically and this sample in order to have aggregated data that represent all the vet teachers in the country. Something that there is in common. This is very important, an important takeaway. So thanks, Manuela. And now I would turn into the system stakeholder perspective with Albina from the NAVET queue. So Albina, we are a bit in a rush, but what I would like to learn from you, perhaps the top 3 challenges and lesson learned that you got from this exercise. You were coordinating, liaising with the school directors as part of the Selfie for Teachers team in Albania. So you made a fantastic work according to the number of participants. And of course, congratulations for this. But I would like really to focus a bit on the challenges now. At what lesson we learn that are important to keep in mind to repeat this exercise in Albania. Albina, the floor is yours.
Thanks, Alessandro. Can you hear me?
Very well.
Okay.
Because I stopped somewhere because I was on the road. So I stopped somewhere to be part of this training. I hope there is not going to be much noise. Now, what we learned, the takeaways from this process. I am really happy first to be part of this team that worked so hard, and we had a very good synergy to reach these outcomes that were presented today. For me, it is important not only what we learn, but also how, because in the world, in the digital world today, the manner how is very important. And this Selfie for Teachers tool pointed out at some lessons. First, through the questionnaire, it showed that the teachers have continuously growing need for digital skills. And according to the results presented by Anastasia, some teachers are at a higher level of such skills and some at somewhat lower level. This for us is translated into the needs, training needs for the teachers and on-the-job training on digital skills. Second lesson, this instrument pointed out at best the importance of not only personal but also professional development of our teachers, and in the professional aspect in two main moments, because there are digital skills that our teachers must put to use in teaching in order to empower themselves as teachers and to facilitate the learning and the development of students, but also the introduction of new technologies in the professions where they teach. And these are the specifics of the vocational training compared to the general education. Another takeaway we got from this exercise is the self-reflection itself, the self-evaluation, which at that moment that was done made us think and to identify our weak points and strong points, not only as institutions, but also as teachers. So this will serve as a very positive experience to make this exercise part of the working culture with the teachers, with the directors, and all the other stakeholders that have some responsibility somehow in VET. Another lesson or something positive that happened during the implementation of this tool, in my view, was the positive perception of technologies. Our teachers are quite inclined to technology, and although there is still a need for continuous training on new technology and for infrastructural support, and to support this digital infrastructure where it exists or to introduce it newly where it doesn't, and to introduce new innovative teaching methods in the schools. So from the point of view of the institution where I work, since I am the person responsible for the continuous vocational training of vocational teachers, this exercise served me to think deeper and further as how we can make these results sustainable and how we can assist teachers in continuous vocational development, meaning that we must look at and re-look at all the documents we develop in the context of VET in our country, in our school, so that digital skills occupy a wider place. It's not that we have left digital skills outside. They are integrated, and my director mentioned the main moments, but now is the high moment that we take more concrete steps in further developing these digital skills. These were overall the lessons. So this was an exercise that made all of us think about training programs. We as agency can be guided towards national training programs. The schools can do that based on the service provider based and also based on the needs of the teachers at schools. Thanks.
Thank you, Albina. And of course, Albina, in the report that you mentioned that we are going to distribute, there is a discussion, the last part of the report that really summarizes the key findings. And I really encourage you, Albina, to discuss with the training provider for the national level to reflect on it and dig into, let's say, training that are responding to the the competences that are still a bit lower than others and need some attention. So thanks, Albina, for sharing this. Now I would pass the floor to Gordana. And to Gordana is our special guest. There are many special guests. Of course, there is also, as I mentioned, my colleague Olena Becker that is now online with me and was coordinating. I don't know whether she wants to add something after Gordana, but let's say, Gordana, you made the same exercise in North Macedonia in a very difficult time. I remember the election and etc. So, but we are running a bit late. So I ask you one thing that you learn from the SELFIE for Teachers team in Albania, and something that you did and would you suggest to the SELFIE for Teacher Albanian team? The floor is yours, please, in 2 minutes, if possible.
Thanks a lot for the invitation to participate at this event. The key message from my point of view, according to experience in the North Macedonia, is to support the teachers as much as we can, starting from the national authorities, defining the structural framework in which teachers can be guided how to develop their digital competencies, then supporting institutions how to give additional support to the schools and to the teachers, like teachers, like directors and school leaders. As I would mention as well that some guidance or recorded trainings how to use SELFIE for Teachers on local languages available online on open platforms can be very useful to support teachers to use SELFIE for Teachers as much and often to upgrade their skills, to find out the real picture for their development of digital skills and how to upgrade in the future.
Thank you, Gordana. So something that indeed I remember very well. In North Macedonia, they were really developing a step-by-step guide for the teachers because they realized that perhaps registering to the platform are sometimes a bit tricky. And teachers had some difficulties in this respect. So the good news that I anticipate Gordana was not mentioning, but is also in Albanian. So we will share this, and this is the aim of to be regional, no? In the Western Balkans. We will share this guideline in Albanian also for the teachers in Albania. Now, I was supposed to have, let's say, a last round with takeaway, but instead, I would like to pass the floor to Olena, my colleague that was steering this study from ETF. And Olena, you have to make really a final statement, very concise from what we learn from the different perspective. What is a good takeaway from for Albania?
Thank you, Alessandro. Dear colleagues, this is how it works. You know, this was such an informal and such a friendly group of people who was joining forces and who was helping each other. So we don't need to prepare any statements. I will just say from my heart two things, just two things. One is that we always discuss at policy level, we discuss with education institutions, with experts, with employers, with all the partners, how to ensure this policy practice nexus, how to make sure that schools, teachers, managers of education have influence on the conditions in which they work, on the way they are supported, on their own
opportunities for learning, and also how do they impact the policies at the system level. And this is how it works. So it works by taking action for everyone involved in responding the questions, organizing this exercise, and agreeing on the conditions, providing technical tools to make it happen. It requires a lot of time, effort, resolving the problems, etc. Dedicating your time, your personal time to work on this. And this is how it works. We learn to work together, and we learn how to include your voice and how to include your own opinion into how you could be best supported as educators. So this is one point. Thank you very much for your time and for being our very dedicated partners on this. We hope that you also felt the same way. And the second thing, very shortly, we also talk about lifelong learning. Lifelong learning also includes the need to understand very clearly where to go and how to structure, how to manage our own learning. Without knowing what are our gaps and what are our real competences, we cannot move forward as educators. And this was an exercise that we hope helped you to really guide your own personal learning in the area of digital competence. So thank you very much for the partners who were speaking today and who were acting behind the scenes and helping this happen. And thank you very much for the government, for the policymakers who were involved in this exercise, and of course the teachers. Thank you, and thank you, GRC and Commission.
So, Lena, thank you very much for this very inspiring 2 points. Now we are closing. We are a few minutes late, but Alma, I'm very sorry that we didn't manage to engage with the participant, but I hope very much that you enjoyed this event. Now, I would
I think, Alessandro, maybe we can ask the audience for 5 minutes if it's possible.
Yeah.
Because I have been writing in the chat several times that we will have a small discussion or a small question and answer. So if we have, at least we give the opportunity. If we don't have, then we don't have.
Sure.
Sorry.
Good point, Alma.
Okay, since the time we are under time constraints, but I've written several times in the chat that we are going to have a mini session for questions and answers. I invite you to make questions, to open the mic if you have some remarks, something to ask, something to discuss about what was discussed by the panelists, about this initiative or this study. I would add that it is an achievement in itself, the fact that we've had in this seminar, in this online event, over 180 participants, and most of them are teachers and school principals and representatives of development projects, representatives of the ETF and the European Commission, or us who are more used to the online presence. Probably for the teachers, this is somewhat a new modality, and in itself, this is an achievement that for this big number of teachers is present. I see some of you have opened your cameras. If you have something to add, to say. Unless, so if you don't have, I see Ariola, Fatmira. So if you don't have any
we have
questions,
time for one question eventually, so don't be shy. Open your microphone and share your experience or your comments.
Precisely, if there are teachers who want to share their experience in using the Selfie for Teachers, you can.
Unë shikoj që ka shkruar Claudiana Mameli, e ka shkruar
I see that there is
what I would say about this platform is related
a
to
comment
searching.
written by Claudiana.
And, people are writing actually. Çfarë unë do të thoja për këtë platform është që është e lidhur me kërkimin një përzgjedhje
Alma
e
is
kritereve për të
translating
identifikuar
Claudiana's
digjitale,
comment in the chat.
Për të mësuarit. Now I am how to select materials, courses and search engine. Me siguri Claudiana ndoshta nuk mund të flasim me mikrofon
for
dhe ka
sure,
shkruar, pra
it
është
probably
një
Claudiana cannot talk on the mic.
që mësuesit
So
janë
this is an
vendosur në një
observation that the
pikpyetje në lidhje
teachers
me çfarë
have a
materialesh
question
burime
mark.
digjitale për
What
zhvillimin e tyre
digital
ato duhet
materials
të
they need for their development,
përdorin. Edhe
and they
kemi
must
edhe
use.
Vjollca Drazhi
We have also
që
Vjollca
ju
Drazhi.
përshëndet folësit dhe që thotë
She
që ishte një
greets
vlerësim
the
i dobishëm për
interlocutors
atë
and she says
si
that this was a
mësuese
useful
besoj dhe i
self-evaluation to
vlerëshëm
her
për
as a teacher, I believe,
dijueshmërinë apo
and
për
it was
vazhdimsinë e
valuable
zhvillimit.
to the continuation of the
Falenderoj
development.
Vjollca, falenderoj
So thanks
Claudiana.
Vjollca, thanks Claudiana.
Nuk e di Alessandro, më duket se nuk
I
kemi.
don't know, Alessandro. I don't see any
Kush hapi mikrofon?
questions. Somebody open the mic.
Ajo, Albina.
So,
Oh,
of
no,
course,
by mistake.
Navet Q will remain at your disposal about a question. Of course, now would now immediately pass the floor to Avis from a closing remark, and then I would close formally the meeting. So, Avis, do you have any closing message that you would like to share with the audience?
Dëgja, unë që në fillim në fakt që kërëgjova si
From the
iniciativë
start,
të pëlqeu
when I
dhe
heard
realisht me
about this
njëherë
initiative, I
dodom
liked
si
it.
vullnetar për ta
And immediately
zbatuar.
we came out
Ka qenë
as
goxha
volunteers
sfiduese,
to put it into
po ka qenë
implementation. It was
punë
quite
ku të
challenging, in
gjithë
fact,
janë përkushtuar,
but
të
it was
përcen
a
të
work
gjithë
where
edhe
everybody
mësimdhënësit
committed.
dhe
And when I say
drejtuesit, dhe
everybody,
jo
I mean
vetëm
the
ekipi që në
teachers, the
fakt
principals,
bëri të
directors, and
mundur
not only the team that
realizimin e
made
këtij
possible
instrumenti.
the realization
Tani unë
of
dua
this
të them këto.
instrument.
Ky është
Now,
takim
I
po
want to say
mbyllesh
this. This is a
me një raport.
concluding
Po në fakt,
meeting,
ky është
concluded with a
momenti që ne
report.
fillojmë
But in
gjithë
fact, this is the moment,
modalitetet e
the
të
starting
menduarit,
moment
si
that we
neve
start
duhet i qasemi
thinking about the
evidencave që
modalities,
tashmë i
how we are
kemi dhe
going
janë
to
të forta.
approach the
Në
evidences
fakt
we
duhet
have and
vazhdojmë
that are
procesin
strong, the
trajnimin e
heart, and
personalizuar
we
të
must
të gjithë
support now the
mësimdhënësve sipas
personalized training
nevojave
of
të
all
tyre,
the teachers
që
according
realisht
to
të fillojë
their own
vetë
needs.
reflektimi tjetër
So
mbas
when
2
the other
vitesh, unë mendoj që
self-reflection
duhet të jetë
starts 2
patjetër.
years later, I
Në
believe
fakt të
it will
gjejmë
be.
rezultatet dhe mësuesit
So
të
we have
aktojnë
the
veten
results, and
në një
so the
nivel më të
teachers
lartë dhe më
see
komod në
themselves at a
përdorimin e
higher and more
teknologjive
comfortable
digjitale
level
për
in
procesin e
using
mësimdhënies.
digital skills
Unë
for the
dua të
purpose
falenderoj
of
të gjithë
teaching
që nga ky
process.
moment ne do
So I
fillojmë
want to
përdorim
thank you
rezultatet
everybody. From
që
this
kanë dalë nga
moment, we
ky
will
studim
start
dhe
using the
që
results
patjetër në bashkëpunim
that
edhe
came
me
out
shkollat
from the study.
profesionale
And
do ketë
of course, in
nisma
cooperation with the
që do
vocational
të
schools, there's
reflektojnë
going
jo
to be
vetëm zhvillimin
initiatives that
profesional mësimdhënësve,
will
po
be
edhe
reflected
përgjithësimin e
in the
dokumentave që në
vocational
fakt përdoren
training
nga
of
stafet
teachers, but
mësimdhënësve në
also
të
in
gjithë shkollat
updating the
profesionale.
curricula
Dhe që
used by
patjetër
the
unë tashmë i falenderoj
vocational
të gjithë,
staffs,
falenderoj
teaching staffs. Now I want to
Alessandron,
thank all of you. I want to
ETFON,
thank Alessandro,
falenderoj
ETF,
Komisionin Evropian,
the European
GRC që kanë qenë
Commission,
gjithmonë
and
backup i
GRC
jon,
that have been
Emanuela,
their
Alma
backup,
dhe mbi gjitha
Emanuela,
drejtuesit dhe
Alma,
mësimdhënësit që
and
janë pjesë
above
e një
all,
rrugtimi të
the
përbashkët
teachers
për të
and the
filluar
principal
cilësinë
directors who
në
are
arsim dhe formimin
the
profesional dhe që patjetër
co-travelers in
zhvillimi
this journey to
profesional i
develop
mësuesve
the
është
vocational
thelbi i
quality,
reformës
and the
dhe
vocational development
ky
of
zhvillim
teachers is
profesional
the
për
core
aftësi
of the
digjitale
reform, and
është
this
akoma më
vocational
tepër i
development
rëndësishëm
on digital
kohët kur
skills is even
gjithmonë më
more
tepër
important at these
digitalizimi
times where
përfundson shumë
digitalization
pjesë
is
të
growingly
operacioneve dhe
substituting
që realisht
many
shqetëson edhe
institutions,
rrit
many
eficiencën dhe
operations, and
efektivitetin
also increase
veprimtarisë
the
e RIL, jo
effectiveness
vetëm
and
si
efficiency of the
mësimdhënës, po edhe
activity
të
of the
gjithë
people, not only as
veprimtarinë
teachers,
produktive
but
në
all in
profesione të
all
ndryshme.
the
Kështu që
productive
faleminderit
activity in
gjithëve
various
dhe them që tani
professions. So
puna
thanks a lot
fillon.
to all of
Dhe
you, and I
fillon
say
me
the
nismën
work starts
konkrete.
now and starts
Shumë
with concrete
faleminderit.
initiatives. Thanks a lot.
Thank you, Avis. So a last word from my side in the name of the ETF, of the European Commission, the JRC. So we are reaching the end of this online event. This is the beginning of a new start. If I may summarize what I learned from you is we made an incredible exercise. So Albania has the capacity to do all this. Keep on doing this. And let's say the two keywords I take with me is about individualization and lifelong learning. We need to innovate the professional development for teachers, fostering peer learning, engaging all the stakeholders at all levels, because we need personalized, we have an individual need and we need individual training. Now, I want to conclude saying that the teachers and the school managers that participated in this exercise will receive by mail an open badge. An open badge is a digital credential that is to recognize your commitment in innovation. You can put it in your LinkedIn, for example, profile, and is formally recognized. So this is a way to ETF to recognize that you are innovators as a teacher and school leaders. So you will receive a mail for this and a link to download it. Then you will receive a feedback message from this event, including the report. My suggestion, of course, you can read everything, but is to go to the conclusion and see the key findings for all the system. And Avis already thanks all the participants, so I join, let's say, her thanks and gratefulness to all of you. And I wish a very successful learning experience of digital competence and professional experience as a teacher. Goodbye, everyone. Thank you.
Alessandro, you have a big list of thank yous, like over 30 thank yous.
Oh.
So thank you.
So
thank you, everyone.
I'm really looking forward to keep doing. Goodbye.
Okay. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Bye-bye. Bye.
Bye.
Thank you. Bye.